Hi, and welcome to 647. 6 stories for 7 a.m. because there's a famine of truth in our land. And this is your quick news fix, and the truth starts now. All right, well, it's Thursday, April 2nd, and we're going to start this broadcast with 5 tidbits. 5 tidbits. Ready? Artemis 2, this is tidbit 1. Artemis 2 launch yesterday. First launch time, 7:30 a.m. postponed, and 3 more times. And finally, the rocket took off at 6:35 p.m. And 8 minutes into the flight, this thing is roaring at 18,000 miles an hour, 217 miles from Earth. All systems perfect for a 248,000 mile trip around the moon. It will take them 6 days to get there, to scout out industrial building and mining sites for Moon Alago. Think of it, Moon Alago. No Somalis allowed, no leftist Luciferian lunatics allowed. It's a whole new lunar beginning for the golden age of Trump. Tidbit 2, Iran has now gone 700 plus hours without internet. Think about it. This may be coming to a theater near you, so pay attention. They may have started reading actual physical books. All right, tidbit 3, 30 A-10 Warthogs moving into theater for pizza delivery to the Republican Guard and the Houthis, up close and personal at 4,230 millimeter Gatling gun bullets per minute. That's getting to know you at 70 bullets per second. Low altitude strafing in the straits and whack-a-mole everywhere else. It's a beautiful thing. All right, tidbit 4. Trump kept it short and sweet last night at 9 p.m. Basically, we're done in 3 weeks. We either get the deal we want from the new, less radical crew, or we strafe and bomb the shit out of this pop stand and move on. If you need oil, go get it yourselves, you bunch of Soros-infected, quivering ninnies. We're going to Havana. A la chingada su EU pendejos. All right, tidbit 5. The president of Iran wrote a personal letter to America yesterday. This is from Masoud Pezeshkian. I'm not going to read it to you. He just basically said, "We never did anything to harm you. We never attacked you. We've always been supportive, and look at what your leader is doing." Does this guy think we've all forgotten all those Death to America videos with the streets packed and everybody jumping up and down, screaming, "Death to America"? And that was just the vocalese. Okay, that's not counting all of the death that these guys merchanted all over the place. Thousands and thousands and thousands of Americans. I don't care if they ground that place to a pulp. All right, take 1. This is embarrassing. AI-generated singer Eddie Dalton dominates iTunes top 5, right? He's top 5 on 3 lists now. This is by Alana Mastrangelo of Breitbart. An AI user has just released another single by a fictional singer known as Eddie Dalton, with 3 songs already landing in the iTunes top 5 charts. Eddie Dalton, who on the surface appears to be an older and distinguished black gentleman, pumping out Southern South blues tracks with reflective lyrics does not actually exist and is entirely AI generated. AI creator Dallas Ray Little is behind the faux songs, 3 of which have already landed on the top 5 of iTunes charts, according to a report by Showbiz 411. And personally, I got to tell you, Eddie's song, Another Day Old, is my favorite tune right now. I've been on it for a month, and I found out today that Eddie, the OG blues man, only exists digitally. And you know what? I don't care. That is how good the entire package is. Get me some makers and some guaranteed monthly income, and I will curl up with Eddie and my bourbon in some smart city near some water and forget about all this famine business. That's how good Eddie sings. Little is reportedly running a content farm out of his home in Greenville, South Carolina, and has posted dozens of his fake songs and videos from various artists to YouTube. So far, there's not much streaming, this is him talking, but people are downloading these songs thinking they're real, Showbiz 411 said. This is not the first time an AI-generated singer has climbed in the charts. Breitbart News reported Solomon Ray. He's another fantastic. I don't care if these people don't exist. These songs, this singing, the whole presentation is absolutely awesome. I've sent Solomon Ray all over the place. Created by artificial intelligence, topped the iTunes Top 100 Christian and Gospel Albums chart late last year. Unbelievable. So, hey, you know what? We use AI here at 647. I don't. I'm incapable. I need AI to help me get dressed in the morning. But my producer uses 5 or 6 different AI things to keep taking everything we do and incorporating it into the next thing. And the same thing on Trust and Obey. Just honestly, it amazes me how he keeps just layering and layering and layering things. It's unbelievable. In fact, he told me 5 weeks ago, he said, Chuck, this is getting so good that honestly, in the next 4 or 5 months, this thing will be able to pick the stories, do the edits, do all your wisecracking and all the stuff you do, incorporate the passion, incorporate the histrionics, the whole thing. You won't have to do anything and you won't know it's not you. And I said, hey, I'm very impressed. But when I hung up the phone, I said, bullshit. But you know, it's getting good. That's all I can tell you. I think it's getting good. All right, enough. Take 2. Small business hiring boom pushes private payrolls up more than expected. This is John Carney at Breitbart. Private employers added 62,000 jobs in March, blowing past 40,000 gain economists had forecast, according to the ADP National Employment Report released Wednesday. Not bad. You guys are only 39% off. Are you kidding me? The better than expected result was driven by the smallest businesses in America. Yeah, that's the heartbeat of this whole country, and it's the super heartbeat of innovation. Establishments with fewer than 20 employees added a striking 112,000 jobs, powering small business hiring gains for a second consecutive month. The burst of micro firm hiring more than offsets cautious headcount management at larger companies. Screw larger companies, okay? And AI is not going to innovate like this. The things that come out of these 20 employee firms are the things that make America great. the innovations that come from complete creativity. It's just fantastic. And you know what? We've had so much blue intervention, and that's the first thing that they try to do is stomp out Main Street. They're all about Wall Street. They hate Main Street. They hate the independence of it. They hate the creativity of it because all they do is destroy. And Main Street creates. Overall hiring is steady, but job growth continues to favor certain industries, including healthcare, said Dr. Neela Richardson's ADP chief economist. Yeah, one of the people that's so good she missed this by 39%. Workers continue to see wages outpace inflation. I haven't heard that in a while. Pay for job stayers rose 4.5% year over year for the third straight month, more than double February's 2.4% consumer price index. Delivering real wage gains of roughly 2%, workers who switched jobs fared even better, with pay increases accelerating to 6.6%, a sign that employers are competing aggressively for talent in high-demand sectors. The job changer premium suggests confidence among workers willing to move and among businesses willing to pay up for the right hire. Manufacturing workers saw pay gains of 4.9%, outpacing the national average, despite the sector shedding 11,000 jobs. The above-average wage growth suggests manufacturers are investing in retaining and attracting skilled workers even as they adjust headcounts, a sign of a sector repositioning rather than retreating. That's music. Repositioning rather than retreating. That's what we want to see. Construction added 30,000 positions, and education and health services gained 58,000, reflecting strong domestic demand for building and healthcare workers. Natural resources and mining contributed 11,000 jobs. The information sector, which includes technology firms, added 16,000 jobs. Regionally, the South dominated, adding 101,000 jobs, with the West-South Central Division, anchored by Texas, contributing 50,000 of those gains. The West added 16,000 jobs. The Northeast and Midwest saw declines. ADP's February figure was also revised upward from 63,000 to 66,000, indicating the prior month's labor market was slightly stronger than initially reported. The better-than-expected report suggests that rising energy prices and concerns over the Iran war did not weigh on hiring in March. Think about that when you hear all the blue-haired ninnies screaming their heads off about Iran and no kings and all this other stuff. We're building a strong foundation. We're rebuilding America. And this is only a year after Biden. All right. Take 3. This is a meat space story. A startup has been quietly pitching cloned human bodies to transfer your brain into. This is by Victor Tangerman of Futurism. Since the mid-1990s, scientists have been obsessed with cloning animals. Dolly the sheep famously became the first mammal to be cloned from a cell taken from an adult mammary gland almost 30 years ago in 1996. Transitioning from cloning animal embryos to human ones has proven far more controversial, and not only because of the litany of risks involved. So far, scientists have only gone as far as to generate human embryo models, grown stem cells, and clone primates from fetal cells, and that's not true at all. Ask Jeffrey Epstein. And believe me, you can ask him. Rather than adult cells like Dolly. That hasn't stopped some from exploring the idea as part of a secretive effort to realize an alternative to anti-aging tech that sounds like it was ripped straight out of a dystopian science fiction novel. A billionaire-backed stealth startup called R3 Bio recently announced that it was raising money to develop a non-sentient monkey organ sacs, as Wired reported last week, an eyebrow-raising alternative to animal testing. Such structures would contain all typical organs, excluding the brain, ultimately serving as a source for donor organs. Sounds disgusting. I think we've been seeing it at many of these demonstrations recently. But according to a sprawling follow-up investigation by MIT Technology Review, R3 Bio's founders secretly have a far more ambitious goal in mind. Of course they do. Creating entire brainless clones of the human body that aging or ill individuals could one day transplant their brain into. One advantage of not developing the brain in the donor bodies, albeit a ghoulish one, such a brain-free clone would neatly circumvent certain moral conundrums over the concept. That's the whole reason you came up with it. Still, to call the idea ethically fraught would be a vast understatement. But the billionaires in Silicon Valley are immune to this. Despite an insider likening a pitch they heard from R3's founder, John Schloendorn, to a close encounter of the third kind with Dr. Strangelove, in an interview with Tech Review, the company has since distanced itself from the idea of brainless human clones. The company said its founder never made any statement regarding hypothetical, non-sentient human clones that would be carried by surrogates. In a statement to Tech Review, and insisted that any allegations of intent or conspiracy to create human clones or humans with brain damage are categorically false. Strikingly, though, co-founder Alice Gilman told the publication that the team reserves the right to hold hypothetical futuristic discussions about brainless clones involving humans. So they're not talking about it, but they reserve the right to talk about it. Do you buy any of this? If you do, you're nuts. They're already on this thing, and they're raising money with it because there's that many crazy rich people who want to live forever. Beyond the ethical implications, experts also threw cold water on the biological feasibility of a full body replacement. There are so many barriers, Michigan State University researcher Jose Cibelli, who was among the first to try to clone human embryos by obtaining matched stem cells in the early 2000s, told Tech Review, from illegality and safety issues to the fact that an artificial womb remains science fiction. You'd have to convince a woman to carry a fetus that is going to be abnormal. The considerable yuck factor, per Cibelli, seemingly has R3's founders undeterred. I'm shocked. Schloendorn has been investigating the idea of human replacements for years now. Tech Review reports regularly giving seminars behind the scenes about the idea and pitching investors on it. We will try to do it in a way that produces defined societal benefits early on. And we need to be prepared to take no for an answer if it turns out that this cannot be done safely. He wrote in 2024 LinkedIn message to Tech Review. These crazos are all over this, right? None of them believe in God, and so they want to be God, and so they want to create life. They want to live forever. They want to put neurological supplements in their circuitry, in their brains, so they're super smart and they get a new body every 50 years or whatever. Okay? You want that life? Have a great time. All right, now I'm combining two sections here because this story is so important. All right, and this is all about one of our little memes here at 647. You can't handle the truth, right? We're constantly running up against you can't handle the truth. The question is why? Okay, it's you can't handle the truth because we have something else we want you to believe. Okay? So here's a story. We all know about it. We've heard about it for 10 years plus, and we all believe we know what the story is. And there are people who have had their lives destroyed, not just as victims, but people who reported on this thing and didn't get the PC tonality right. And then there's guys like Alex Jones who said, yeah, I'll just blow this story wide open. And the government went after him. Everybody went after him. They sued him for $1 billion. They won for $1 billion in a rigged jury. They destroyed the guy's business. They took his name, his brand, everything to try to shut him up. And you know what? The guy's a patriot. You may not like him, but he's a patriot. And he tells what he knows. And in this case, it's taken 10 years to find out that he was 100% right. So here we go. Part one. Okay, this is Matthew Lisiak. He's titling this The Genesis of a False Narrative, and he's on Substack. And wow, does he have the goods. And this is a small sample of it. But it's long enough. Please bear with me that I'm combining two sections. Part one, exclusive, suppressed Newtown shooter manifesto confirmed. What follows is not speculation. It's documentation. And at the end of this article, you will hear the Adam Lanza audio clip 1, which has been confirmed by the author and which law enforcement has successfully suppressed until now. On December 14th, 2012, Adam Lanza, 20, killed his mother before entering Sandy Hook Elementary School. Within 20 minutes, 20 children and 6 educators were dead. In the aftermath, the country asked a single question: why? A year later, Connecticut's state attorney released its findings. After reviewing hundreds of interviews, thousands of documents, and every piece of evidence investigators deemed relevant, the report reached a conclusion that would shape the national understanding of the case. There was no clear motive. Now, I'll just let you know it's a 100% lie. There was no indication that the shooter intended to commit the crime. Total lie. He acted alone. The report acknowledged that Lanza had planned the attack, but ultimately concluded the obvious question, why did the shooter murder 27 people, may never be answered conclusively. That is a 100% lie. A second report issued by the Office of the Child Advocate examined Lanza's life in detail. It found years of developmental challenges, escalating anxiety and obsessive behavior, increasing isolation, multiple missed opportunities for intervention. It described a system that saw pieces of the problem but failed to connect them, and yet it stopped short of drawing a direct line between those failures and the shooting. No single factor or combination of factors could be said to have caused it. Not true. Taken together, these reports created the official record, a tragedy that was horrific, unexplained, and ultimately unpreventable. The conclusion has defined the national conversation ever since. In the absence of a clear motive, the debate moved elsewhere. Within minutes of the shooting, and with stunning efficiency, the nation's media landscape shifted the conversation from an examination of the event to gun control. Right. Gun control. I don't think you take this seriously enough. I don't think you understand how much they want to remove the Second Amendment. Okay? Take a look at Australia. All those dopes handed over their weapons, and then in less than a year, they had built concentration camps for people who refused to take the vaccine. Okay? What's going on in Europe? Nobody's got a gun, so they can do anything they want to you. They can welcome in all these goofballs from the Middle East and from Africa and let them rape your kids and wreak havoc. And if you stand up, they put you in jail. But the only reason they can do this is that you can't defend yourself. And so we have to stand up and be loud about this. This was a manufactured lie. And the authorities knew about this guy long before he ever walked into Sandy Hook. And I'm talking the FBI. And they've all been lying about it because it was such a good weapon to beat the Second Amendment people with. So, the landscape shifted the conversation from an examination of the event to gun control. But that sleight of hand came with a cost. Moving forward from that first day, any information pertaining to the tragedy, including the investigation, would all have to be carefully curated ahead of public consumption to ensure the nation's attention would be directed in one particular direction and away from the truth, because you can't handle the truth. We are trying to force feed you a narrative that the problem is guns. In fact, we have all been misled. While our attention was misdirected, the truth was intentionally suppressed to create a narrative that is not only counter to reality, but in many ways the exact opposite. Over the past several years, I've reviewed a body of material that was intentionally withheld from the public to preserve the ongoing narrative, which is give us your guns. Take a look at Rhode Island. We talked about it yesterday. If you own an AR-15, 10 years in jail, $10,000 fine, and they take your gun. Furthermore, attempts to get this information out through more conventional outlets have faced unprecedented pushback, at times suppression. In the Newtown Manifesto, you will hear the killer outline repeatedly and in his own voice the motive law enforcement attempted to conceal from the public. Additionally, you will have access to a series of shocking posts made by the killer that the author can now confirm law enforcement was monitoring before the shooting. Furthermore, according to a law enforcement source familiar with the case, the FBI visited the Lanza home before the shooting to speak with his mother, Nancy, about concerns related to Adams' activity on the internet. The FBI had claimed that this visit never happened. However, Nancy's own emails, obtained by the author, combined with additional sources who have recently come forward, push back against the FBI's denial. Denial? Lying. The official investigation concluded investigators found no evidence that the shooter indicated his intention to others. 100% lie. And he has the documentation to show you. And audio tapes. Once again, this is misleading at best. For more than a decade, the national conversation around the tragedy of Newtown has focused primarily on access to weapons. That conversation matters, but it is also a complete diversion from the truth of what happened at Newtown. In the coming articles and accompanying audio, you will hear Lanza's words carefully contextualized and see how they align with the record we were given. Not to sensationalize, but to understand. Because what has become clear is that the official record was an attempt to create a narrative, not to arrive at the truth. And it is only when we have the truth and understand the mistakes of the past that we are free to move forward in any meaningful way in attempting to prevent the next mass shooting. But the left doesn't want that. They want to curate the next shooting so that they can use it to try to remove the Second Amendment. And once the Second Amendment is gone and you no longer have a way to defend yourself, then you're going to see their real intent for you. That begins with setting the record straight. Here is the first clip of Adam Lanza from a series of 32 audio files uploaded to YouTube between September 7th, 2011 and ending June 29th, 2012. I listened to the first one. Everything we were told about this young kid is BS. This is a highly articulate, highly intelligent individual who got turned in the Luciferian direction. And I'm wondering how that turning happened. Because we see too many of these folks. We get the wrong story up front, and then we're told, move along, there's nothing to see here. No information for you. And then we find out later that there was professional involvement and that there was agency involvement before this thing ever went down. And then you got to wonder, is MK Ultra involved in this? And if you don't know what it is, look it up. But this is a major, major blockbuster of a story because take Alex Jones. His life was destroyed. He lost in court to the tune of $1 billion. And it's only through his smarts and tenacity that he is still out there. And he needs the same kind of reward in court that General Flynn just received against the Department of Justice. So pay attention, folks. I mean, there cannot be an end to the famine of truth if we don't pursue these things. And this is a huge, huge narrative that I'm going to say 75% of Americans will never, ever shake the narrative that's in their head. They'll always say, oh, Sandy Hook, guns. And that was the intent by the legacy media and by the agencies aiding and abetting them. All right, take 6. Man charged, accused of riding a horse while intoxicated. This is Bowling Green, Kentucky. This is where I was born. A man was arrested in Bowling Green, Kentucky, Thursday after police said he was caught slumped over on a horse that was walking along the road. Jorge Luis Hernandez, 48, was on a horse when an officer spotted him partially slumped over. According to arrest records, he then began traveling on the sidewalk while still on the horse. That's not all. Jorge rode the horse to the liquor store, loaded up on inventory, had it in a bag hanging over the horn of his saddle, and was having trouble making it home. He was already 3 sheets to the wind. All right? So police detected a strong odor of alcoholic beverage. According to a citation, he also had bloodshot eyes, slurred speech, and delayed movement. Hernandez told police he had just left a liquor store and was headed home. A liquor store bag was tied to the saddle on the horse. After field sobriety tests, police determined Hernandez was under the influence and was arrested. Hernandez is being held in the Warren County Regional Jail. He is charged with operating a non-motor vehicle under the influence of intoxicants. There was also an active warrant for his arrest, they found out later, as an illegal immigrant overstaying, coming illegally, the whole trip, right? The whole sanctuary trip. All right. A word of prayer from George Patton. This is direct and to the point, and it's about us. Okay? We battle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers of the air. Pray when driving. Pray when fighting. Pray when alone. Pray with others. Pray by night and pray by day. Pray for the cessation of immoderate rains, for good weather, for battle. Pray for victory. Pray for our army, and pray for peace. That's us, the army of God. We need to be in solidarity against this evil that's all around us. And we're going to be seeing it, a lot of it. All right, it's Thursday. You got this day and one more day. This is Holy Week. This Sunday is Easter. If you're a believer, it is the most important day of the year. So let's make it that. Let's fellowship and pray together and celebrate the most important piece of information we'll ever get, that Jesus triumphed over death. And if you accept him as Lord and Savior, you will triumph over death and spend eternity, not only with God, not only with the Holy Spirit, not only with Jesus Christ, but with every one of your believing friends and relatives. And that is for eternity. This thing we're doing here, this is a short hop. The long flight and the long vacation, you only get that if you enter through the narrow gate. All right. Dear God, please stretch out your arms over all these folks. Watch over them. Watch over our soldiers. Watch over our president and his cabinet and all of the people that are striving to reconstruct our world and turn this into the shining city on the hill. You can start to see it starting to form now, even in these economic numbers. So, blue-haired people be damned. This is the future of this country, and we'll hold to it. Have a great day, and thank you for being here. God bless you.
Look at me, take a picture, it'll last longer. The mirror on the wall say I'm getting stronger. Hey, yo, the mirror don't lie. If you want the truth, don't close your eyes.